So what happens whenever you don't put your chain on right and leave it running over a bit of Unistrut? Eh? It all falls apart. Well, it didn't really all fall apart. What happened was it broke the anchor bolt off the hub, which was just a piece of threaded rod, soft steel. You can see it there, and the Unistrut bolt broke. It was probably a case of over tightening it or just vibrations. So I set out to work on that first and changed my bracket so as I could pull the bracket down to the hub a bit better, which would let the hub set out over the back of the turbine, and this means I was crossing the piece of Unistrut, so I wasn't touching the piece of Unistrut that I was hitting off earlier. I have it all well out of the way now. It's fairly simple to work on this because I'm using Unistrut. I can't say enough about using Unistrut. The brackets, you just loosen them, bend them the other way, and they all fit together. It does help to have a little bit of experience with it. But for instance here, the top bracket which I had, I've just changed round my 90-degree bends on the piece of Unistrut, and now look at it. You'd think it grew there. You'll not get much stronger than that. I suppose if I put in all the bolts it would be. Another problem that I've been having is the sprocket is wearing. So the little sprocket is wearing on my generator hub. That's wearing because the chain size isn't right. I need to get a matching sizes, but for now I'm going to pull this little quad out of the ditch and see if there's a sprocket on the engine of it. I was going to make a big video about taking it apart, but then that just worked out simpler. Just hit it with the hammer. A good lashings and lashings of WD-40 in around the sprocket, and then I just had to extract the little bolt that was in the sprocket itself. Once I'd that done, it was only a matter of prying out the sprocket from the shaft that it was sitting on. And lucky enough, it's all the way that I built the last one. You can use any sprocket with any hole in it. So to get the sizes right, or to match the size that I took off, I just used washers stacked as a spacer. And you can see there I put on the washers first, and then I put on the sprocket, not a few washers, and then hold it level. That's how I'm leveling it, is holding it level, and I'm gripping it with washers. Again, here's the double lock thing that I like to use with the nuts. And then I just throw on the chain. I do have a little bit of lining up to do, but whenever I pull the tensioner, I'm very, very happy with the way the whole thing has worked out. It's still making a bit of noise, and again, that's because the sprockets don't fit the chains. But what I want to go at next is something that you would have heard me talking about, is the chain tensioner. Whenever I put it on, I was never happy with the way it sat, so I had a good idea what I needed to do now to make this into a chain tensioner that under the load of a spring it would pull down straight. So I'm going to use all the same parts. The only difference that I'm going to make is the bracket I'm working on here. I'm going to make that so as the bracket can move. So I'm going to use my nut clamp. So locking nuts together either side of my 90 bracket pardon me, will give me a bit of free space on the 90-degree bracket between it and the nuts, so as it's free to move. You'll see there what I'm trying to achieve. The two nuts that you see stacked on top of it, they'll be locked together. So one will be tightened and the other one will be loosened, and they'll be pulled in together so as they form a bond that won't loosen and will allow this to continue to act as a movable 90-degree bracket. So you'll see here, once I tighten up the last bit, I can completely tighten that to the bracket now, because I don't need the bracket to move. There's the piece I need to move, just a little 90-degree on it, so the whole bracket can pivot. Back out at the turbine, I fitted it all up. I'm very, very happy with the way it fits, and now I'm just pulling a wee bit more tension on the spring. So I've got a little spring tensioner on the back, or a spring for tension. on the back, and this allows me to change my spring tension for jobs like this. Whenever I move it, I've completely changed the dynamic of where everything's sitting. One thing I do like about it is the position of the generator hub, which is hanging way out the back, and it gets great coverage on the sprocket. You can hear it's a wee bit still jingly jangly from the tension bracket, but I don't mind that once it's running through the tension bracket, and we will get a clunk from the sprocket being the wrong size. It's really just plug it all in then. Very important to remember, your cable must vibrate at the same speed as your generator hub or the connection. So try and connect your cable to the part which is vibrating the same speed as the connection point, if that makes any sense. And then a wee load versus torque. So there I'm running on load, you'll hear it speeding up now. The wee jingly jangly. There we go. And then brake. So that's the turbine fixed and back working, generating enough electricity to charge 250 amp hours on a 12 volt battery. Alrighty, slán.